Hey guys, Ryan Earnhardt here from CreativeSoundLab.tv, and today we're going to be talking about how to mic up a snare. Just a really simple, quick tutorial on what I usually do for snare drum. Let's check it out. Okay, we're here at the snare drum, and I've set the snare drum up just by itself, but the same mics, the same position that I usually would in the room, just to show you a perfect view of the drum and the mics. Really, the idea for snare drum is that it's made of a couple different mics. We'll get to that in a moment. We're going to first look at the close mics. So my number one rule is 2 fingers or 3 fingers. And depending on the sound that you want, it's either 2 or 3 fingers. It's really pretty simple. This is even more so the case for like an SM57. This is an Audix i5. Below is an SM57 that I've taken the transformer out. It just helps the high end to just breathe a little bit more. Some say it has a little bit more extended range in the lows as well. But for me, this is kind of my standard setup. So 2 fingers. So that's the distance off the rim that I set the mic at. Piece of cake. Go down to the bottom, 2 fingers. Anglement about 45 degrees, and there you go. Now, the bottom mic, you're going to flip the polarity on. Okay, some call this flip the phase, but flip the polarity. You can do this at the mic pre, you can do it in your DAW. I haven't heard of a DAW that can't do this. Okay, just read the manual. If you can't find where to do this, you're going to flip the polarity on this bottom mic so that these 2 mics, because they're looking towards one another, they need to work together so that both mics actually hear the wave coming towards each of the mics at the same time. That's really the essence of polarity, especially when you have mics looking together. The distance is important because it has to do with proximity effects. So any sort of directional microphone, figure 8 being the most directional mic that has the most proximity effect, and of course omnidirectional having no proximity effect because it's not directional at all. So cardio is right in the middle. And so it does have a proximity effect if you get closer to something. Exponentially, it's taking sound longer and longer to whip around the back of the capsule. And the sound that's collected in this mic generates an electric current based on not only the sound pressure on the front, but the difference of the front and the back. So it's kind of like having a wave rush by a big rock. Okay, there's actually going to be a lot of water at the front of that rock where the wave initially hits. Then it's going to take a moment for that water to wrap around the back. And if you're caught in waves, you can actually hide behind the rock, and the water will be almost kind of lower. Okay, there's going to be a big difference between the front of the rock when the wave hits, and we're kind of hiding out from the wave, trying not to get washed away, and the rock is basically creating almost a difference of height of even the sea itself. So that's how proximity effect is formed. Is that there's a big difference. You get real close to something, that tiny difference that it takes sound to go around the capsule becomes a lot more bigger part of the picture, and it creates a big difference between the front and the back of that capsule. So there's a big boost in low frequencies. So that's proximity effect. Now going to the harmonic content is the angle. So there's a couple different things going on here, okay? We have proximity effect. Now we choose the angle, and pointing it more towards the center is kind of like switching to a neck pickup on a guitar, whereas pointing it more towards the edge is like switching to the bridge pickup on a guitar. The edge, closer to where what string, membrane, whatever it may be that resonates and vibrates, is, it's going to the bridge, or on a drum called the bearing edge. So these are more of the upper order harmonics, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So closer we get to the center of the drum, we have our fundamental tone. Closer we get to the edge, second, third, fourth, fifth, order harmonics go up as we get to the edge. And this is, great. Some people say they can muffle, a certain part of the drum and take care of certain ringing that they don't like. I don't know that I really think about it that much, but I do think about it when I set up a mic, is I can get a very natural tone from the drum, where I get kind of a balance of mostly fundamental and then, a little less and less of the ringy stuff, and then I get more of kind of the mid-range and ringy stuff by pointing it toward the edge. Bottom mic, kind of the same deal. I kind of angle it. I don't think about the harmonics as much. Also consider that there's low end going into that mic. It's a really cool trick that if you can't get enough fullness out of the top mic, you can actually maybe find it in the bottom mic. So those are the two close mics. Let's have a listen to how these two mics sound together. Okay, so those were the two mics together, but this is not the complete picture, and this is actually quite important, is that you can't expect this to sound like a complete album-ready sound for the drum set. In fact, the sound of the snare is a lot more involved. It's a pair of overheads, and it's some room mics as well. So there's actually a few different things we're going to be demonstrating today. We just demonstrated these two mics, but we're also going to be showing the pair of overheads. Now these overheads, Rode NT55s, are an XY configuration, so everything in the kit, toms, cymbals, everything will be phase coherent. So everything should sound as full as it possibly can, given the sound of the mics. Let's put it that way. It'll sound a little fuller if you use, say, a pair of ribbons and a bloom line, which is basically XY with a pair of ribbons. But the idea is to focus on the overheads and realize that a lot of the snare sound is going to be coming into those overheads. And then from there, we're going to look at the room mics. We have a couple of room mics, and we're going to show the difference of the sound, of how it contributes to the overall sound and our perception of the snare drum. Let's check out these overhead mics first. Now we're going to do the whole deal. So we'll start out with these two mics here. Then we'll add in the overheads. Then we'll add in the room mics to really show you how it's adding together to create the final sound of our snare drum. Okay, so that was really how to mic up a snare. It's not just these two mics at a 2-finger distance and at an angle, and of course flip the polarity, but it is other stuff piled on. And so it's overheads, it's room mics. And when miking up a whole drum kit, it's almost like, the way that I teach it in my classes is that I start with the overheads, and then I fill in the sound of the overheads with the close mics. So just take this into consideration, that it's multiple layers to contribute to the final sound of the drum. If you have any questions, I'd love to continue this discussion further with you. I'll be hanging up below in the comments. I'll talk to you soon.